Hello everyone, my name is Dean. Let's talk crypto. This is where you subscribe for daily Bitcoin updates and technical analysis. We track the price of Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. Today is April 10th, 2025. And we are indeed experiencing a W-shaped recovery in the cryptocurrency markets. All right, I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you how this is very promising for our projected move up, our brief move up in Bitcoin, but our much larger move up in altcoins. I'm also going to talk about how this is very different from what you're seeing in the stock markets. Obviously, this channel is focused on cryptocurrency, but a lot of people are interested in stocks right now. A lot of people have been asking me to look at the stock market. So I'm just going to spend a very little time looking at the S&P 500 that I typically use as a proxy for the traditional stock markets. And I'm going to show you how this is very, very different than what you're seeing in the cryptocurrency market. So guys, if that all sounds interesting to you, then watch until the very end. Hope everyone's having a great day. Let's get started with Bitcoin as per usual. And let's get started on the 4-hourly time frame. So when I say W-shaped recovery, what does that mean? This is what you typically see on a bottom, okay? There are lots of different types of bottoms. You have inverse head and shoulders bottom. You typically see bottoms like that. You can also see this type of bottom. That's a W. And at the end of the day, the theoretical touch points are the same. You're technically getting the same thing. I'm going to explain why that is. So when you're looking at an inverse head and shoulders, you have a left shoulder, a right shoulder, and a head, okay? You're essentially doing an initial break right here, a counter, secondary break, counter, a tertiary break, or a pivot, and a counter. So you're talking about 2 degrees of AB basing and a pivot, or 3 pairs of AB bases. I discussed that a lot on this channel. Here, you have very similar price action when you look at your W recovery, right? This is your initial break. This is your initial counter. This can be your secondary break, and down here can be your secondary counter. So you see that, right? Secondary break, secondary counter. This can be your tertiary break and your tertiary counter. You can, in other ways, you can see the inverse head and shoulders. So, if you want to relegate your analysis to only pattern analysis, it gets a little tricky because it's confusing, because here you have W, and then in the case of an inverse head and shoulders, some people say that's a V-shaped recovery. But if you want to break it down, I think, and be more precise, you're essentially looking at 3 pairs of corrective patterns. And we know 3 pairs, or corrective patterns typically come in flavors of 3. So you typically see these double bottoms or this single bottom right here, and that denotes a local bottom, rounded bottom, and you should expect in Bitcoin, right, something like this, okay? Breakout, retest, continuation, because that is your neckline right there, okay? So this is what I'm seeing in Bitcoin. So this bodes well for our overall thesis that we've been talking about, having Bitcoin revisit this area of the chart right here, this pink box, because at the end of the day, we're looking at a ABC flat correction that has yet to put in its final move up. And if you want to look at this as being the beginning of the ABC, or the C wave up, you have 1 day's worth of price action up, and now 1 day down, retesting that first pump, okay? And the daily candle is about to close in 2.5 hours. So that would make sense that you get your wave 3 or your subsequent breakout from that initial pump up. Okay, a lot of people who don't know anything about price action say, oh, you see, the market came back to its senses because Trump said this, Trump said that. You know, once it's hard to say no and completely disqualify any of these macro events. I don't know how and I don't know why, and I say this a lot on this channel, but a lot of what you see in the charts mirrors what you see in life and vice versa. I don't know why, I don't know how, but this was in the charts and it has been in the charts ever, the whole time. And that move was very high probability that we were going to get that move up, that the tariffs were canceled or postponed, whatever. I didn't know that that was going to happen, but that we were going to revisit this area right here, okay, before turning down, is something that's been on the chart, something that I've been saying on this channel for quite some time, and it very much looks like that is going to come about. That's going to materialize in at least Bitcoin's price action. Again, during the time Bitcoin matriculates up here to this resistance, we're expecting very big moves in altcoins. And last thing I'll say about Bitcoin, look at what you're seeing on the momentum indicator, the stochastic RSI momentum indicator. You're seeing a W right there, right? So you're even seeing the W that we're discussing in the momentum indicator, which if you go on the 4-hourly time frame, it's actually it's not necessarily a mirror of this price action, but you can see some strong bullish divergence here. So this is the bottom, this is another bottom, this is a bottom. The indicator, the momentum indicator, has this bottom higher, so it's a lower high right here that indicates strong bullish divergence up here. So we're likely to get a continuation of this move. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing, and so it's looking good. It's looking good for people who are saying, oh, you see, people, that was a fake out, blah blah blah. No, it's just normal, a retracement of price action. After it goes up, it comes down a certain bit and then it continues. That's just normal. All right, now let's look at altcoins, because in altcoins it's even more prominent. It's even more it's even more interesting, because again, just like I said in the last episode, you're looking at a massive bull flag, right? This bull flag is flagpole bull flag. And what is a bull flag? A bull flag is a zigzag of sorts. And a zigzag, according to Elliott wave theory, is when you get a sort of impulse, a sort of corrective impulse, yes, and then a retracement that comes to the 0.5 to the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level of that corrective impulse. So if you take your Fibonacci retracement level, which I'm trying to, yep, from the bottom here to the top, what do you see? And I hadn't done this before. It's just I'm quite confident in. I've never not seen zigzags respect the phi ratio. If they're zigzags, they always respect the phi ratio. And look at this, taking the bottom of this purported corrective impulse all the way to the top and then coming right back down. Look at where your bottom lies. People say, technical analysis doesn't work. You literally touched the 0.618 and you didn't come down a penny or a dollar below that. Do you see that? So you go up correctively, but it's still impulsive. You come down in a flavor of 3, and that flavor of 3 respects the phi ratio. The phi ratio is essentially the 0.618, but we typically like to say the golden pocket between 0.5 and 0.618, which is where you expect the phi ratio to land. And this is exactly what you're getting here. And the bull flag, the bull flag idea is, this is your flag, this is your flag pole. It's extremely bullish. And a typical bull flag, you can take, if you do your pattern analysis, you can take the length of your flagpole, superimpose it from the bottom of your flag, and that's how you typically get a target. And that is a target. It's not our final target, but it is a target for the altcoins. It's essentially at the top of this 500-day green channel, right? You're going to have resistance at the top of a 500-day green channel. You're also going to have resistance at the midline, right? But your final target of this move, of this inverse head and shoulders, is obviously the height of the inverse head and shoulders superimposed from the side of breakout, which gives you the top of this bigger move right here. Let me zoom out a little bit. You see, so we're actually looking for a target up here and even maybe a little bit beyond, but that is an initial target. And so you do get initial targets. You can get targets using pattern analysis, and that won't necessarily give you your ultimate target, but it should give you a target, and that is indeed a target. So I like that read on altcoins. Again, if you're not bullish on altcoins, study this chart, this total 3 chart. Total 3, remember, is every asset in crypto minus Bitcoin minus Ethereum. It should tell you, it should give you a good idea as to what altcoins are doing. So altcoins are quite bullish now, and kind of like Bitcoin, but even more so, you have this W-shaped recovery. And here it's like the Wu-Tang symbol, where the right vertex is higher than the left one. That shows bullishness, okay? So again, you have some strong bullish divergence here because you have your low here on your momentum indicator, and you have a higher low, much higher low on the momentum indicator, and a slightly higher low on the chart. That's strong bullish divergence. That means you should continue this move up, and that's what the chart is saying, right? Also, remember, this is a 500-day channel. This teal channel is about 66 days, okay? So any channel, you should look at the midline as being resistance when you're below it, support when you're above it. The bottom of the channel should be support, the top should be resistance. Look at what happened, right? You can see it very clearly. So do expect this to continue, meaning you found support at the bottom of the channel. That was your leftmost vertex of the W-shaped recovery. You found your initial resistance at the midline of the channel, because the midline is important and it's resistance when you're below it. We were below it. We retraced at the midline, and now, having retraced at the midline, we should find strength to go up through the midline, and at some point in time retrace and retest the midline, but ultimately find some sort of resistance at the top of the channel, then continue, right? And then you find resistance at the top of this 500-day channel, then you retest the top resistance of this 66-day channel as support. Okay, so I'm expecting something like this, just like I drew up kind of sloppily with my pen, right? This price action that you're seeing here should continue to the next logical resistance, which is the midline of this 500-day channel. Okay, so in aggregate, I would not be surprised if you got a good 50% move in altcoins. If that's an aggregate move, then you should expect 100, 120, 150, in some lower cap altcoins, just by looking at this chart. So again, just to follow up to my last video, that altcoins are in a good space. They're doing exactly what you would expect them to do if you were bullish on a move in the immediate short term. and which we are, and this looks really good for altcoins. Okay, so do expect this to continue. Time frame, I mean, this looks imminent. If Bitcoin's going to move imminently, then so will altcoins. And like I said, you found resistance at the midline, you retraced, now you should continue. And if you want to break this down further and identify 3 pairs of AB bases, which you always get at any kind of consolidation, whether it's an accumulation or a distribution, you can see 1 pair here on the small time frame, 2 pairs. This is your 3rd pair. This should give you your move up, right? Your consolidation is complete here. And this is a channel. It's a consolidation channel, but notice it's an up and to the right bullishly slanted consolidation channel that you're looking at. That's all it is, right? So this is what I'm expecting in altcoins. That's why I'm expecting it. Bitcoin's looking good for continuation. Last but not least, before we get out of here, let's just have a quick look at our Bitcoin dominance to start on the weekly time frame. And Bitcoin dominance, for those of you who don't know, is a measure of Bitcoin strength vis-a-vis the rest of the altcoin market. Bitcoin dominance going up, that means altcoins are losing to Bitcoin. Either Bitcoin's going up, altcoins aren't going up. Bitcoin's going down, altcoins are going down much more. Bitcoin dominance going down is what we see in a bull market, what we see in an alt season, into when altcoins gain against Bitcoin. This is what you want to see in a truly sustainable crypto bullish trend. And we're just at a point right here, based off of this chart. This is the weekly time frame where we're seeing a double top, right? We saw a top here in February. I kept talking about that February 2nd capitulative move. We saw a top, and we retraced all the way back to the scene of the crime, and you can see already a what do they call this? I always mix up my terms. I think it's called a tombstone. Sorry, forgive me if I confound the terms, but it's where your candlestick tail is long on the top and your candle body is small. Basically denotes strong selling pressure. I know this is an indicator, but just for ease of discussion, I'm just going to say the selling pressure is strong, i.e. you're looking to reverse trend here based off of this weekly candle. Obviously the week has yet to close. We still have 3 days left, but right now as it stands, you should expect, based off of that weekly candle right there, continuation to the downside. Our momentum indicators at the top, it's overbought. You should expect continuation to the downside. Bitcoin dominance actually finally breaks down. That means altcoin should give us that big move that we're expecting, much bigger than what Bitcoin's going to do, because we know Bitcoin's move is going to be up, but not as much as what you can expect in altcoins. So guys, that's it for me. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was useful. Like, share, and subscribe. If you got value, consider tipping me via Litecoin, Cash App, Venmo, all at the pinned comment below, and consider joining my crypto portfolio mentorship and consultation service. Also can be found at the pinned comment below, where I go live one-on-one with you for up to 2 hours every month and provide entry and exits, buys and sells for up to 5 altcoins, and I help you balance your portfolio and pick actual altcoins that are likely to move in this coming bull market.
Seems I wake in the days while the world spins without me. Arrived at the fork in the road, could turn back, repeat the same story, or march forward and embrace change and reflect upon his glory. I'm a selfish man, therein lies the whole problem. Torn between my actions and the will of my heart. I had to take it all apart to see where I stood as a man, to depart from this world and leave it in his hands. Come on. Yeah.
looks like I'm heading for the gold, y'all. Touring on a pothole road, y'all. I get it even if I didn't fit in, winning right up to the end, like I didn't even know, y'all. I have pop's genetics, working hard, never to get it, like shit or better. Don't letting life get the best of my efforts. Instead, I dedicated to bettering my steps, measuring investments. Watch me do it to the death, y'all. Run it fresh 400.